Hi guys, welcome to a new weekly reading, writing, life vlog. As you can tell, I am sick, so I don't really sound like myself. I've been sick for the last week, so that's why there has been no videos. I think I'm going to start reading Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu today because I want to get back into vampire. Honestly, I took I took February off to finish my calendar book, to edit it and get it ready for like sending to my friends and for querying. That did not happen. I don't know what happened, but that did not happen. I mean, I reread the whole thing and then like realized how many issues it has for real this time. I still didn't finish writing the ending, so I think my new plan of action will be to like try to dedicate an hour a day to calendar, so like I don't feel like I have to do everything in a week or everything in a month. So I'm just gonna try to dedicate an hour. Either I finish a chapter in a day or I don't, or I finish half a chapter. It's just better than what I was doing. I can like make sure I don't fall out of love with the vampire book, because that's what happens. I start books, I let go, I come back, I let go, I come back. So I think the only way to solve this problem will be to work on both projects but at a slower rate, but make sure I like spend like X amount of hours and time on both projects every day. So I think that's what I'm gonna do today. We're March 1st. Obviously, every time there's a new month, you always feel like you can do everything and you put a lot on your plate. So we'll see as the month goes along. I really need to like just work on them and like forget about the end stage, forget about querying, forget about my age, forget about all these little things that like, you know, makes you go crazy and like put too much pressure to the point where like you have like writer's block. I'm not saying I have writer's block. I have just really stupid procrastination tendencies. So I'm gonna read some of Carmilla. I'm gonna update some of my thoughts, and then I think I'm gonna reread the chapters that I did write of Vampire back in January, so I can get back into the headspace and my characters. And yeah, I'll update as I go, this time for real, and I will maybe even give some calendar updates, or I will film a separate video talking about calendar, because honestly it might be too much to put everything in one video. Like it might be too much to just show vampire calendar and what I'm reading at the same time. So yeah, let me know how you would like me to approach this when it comes to filming, because at some point calendar is going to be more of an editing project than a writing project. I don't know, I'm still thinking of it myself. Maybe I film like one long video in March of whatever I accomplish in calendar, and I just keep like the weekly videos vampire focused and reading focused. So yeah, we'll see, and let me know what you guys prefer. And is it getting too complicated? All the things that I'm doing and all the things I'm working on. That's the intro. That's the long intro with how scatterbrained I am. I have problems with committing to things because I'll commit and then I'll like have something else that I'm interested in. So I'm trying to commit better this year, and I'm trying to get more organized this year because I have too many projects that are open and I need to start finishing things before I start anything new. And I want to start new things obviously, so I need to finish old things and ongoing things as well. So yesterday I got through a third of Carmilla. I really like it. I like the writing style, and I always love when things are set in Austria because I am half Austrian and I never get to read about like Austria basically, essentially, in fiction, so it's always a pleasant surprise. Yeah, this edition is very beautiful because it actually has illustrations. It's this one is the one that has the foreword by Carmen Maria Machado. And so I'm trying to find what's the publication. It's with Lanternfish Press. Yeah, Lanternfish Press. And I just love this cover so much. I don't think I'm going to report much because it's a very short classic, but I will share my final thoughts and opinions. So we officially kind of meet Carmilla, and now I'm understanding why this is quite sapphic. It says, she placed her pretty arms about my neck, drew me to her, and lay her cheek to mine, murmuring with her lips near my ear, "Dearest, your little heart is wounded. Do not think me cruel, because I obey the irresistible law of my strength and weakness. If your dear heart is wounded, my wild heart bleeds with yours. In the rapture of my enormous humiliation, I live in your warm life, and you shall die, sweetly die into mine. I cannot help it. As I draw near to you, you in your turn will draw near to others, and learn the rapture of that cruelty which yet is love. So, for a while, seek to know no more of me and mine, but trust me with all your loving spirit." And when she had spoken such a rhapsody, she would press me more closely in her trembling embrace, and lay soft kisses upon my cheek. Why am I like low-key blushing? Also, if you hear purring, my cat is just, every time, anywhere I go, he's right here. But yeah, it's so good. I'm loving it so far. Anyways, I'm gonna finish this and yeah, probably report back to you and say how much I enjoyed it. If I did, I'm sure I will, because the writing style is beautiful, the tension is beautiful, and yeah. I got a little package that we shall open. I got a few little things that I'm so excited to read next. First thing I got is Shred Sisters by Betsy Lerner. The reason why I got this one is that, first of all, it's highly rated, and this is Patti Smith's Agent. It's her book, so I definitely need to read this, because you guys know I love Patti Smith, so she's always promoting this book, and a lot of people that have read this book have loved it, so I just really cannot wait to read this. Since reading Intermezzo, I've been looking for books with like sibling dynamics, or that have like a focus on sibling dynamics, so this one's gonna be an amazing one to pick up. And I got Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer. Honestly, I was talking about this in my 100 books that I read in 2024 wrap up about a lot of the conversation right now is having to do with, can we separate the art from the artist? And I have been reading a lot of books and articles that talk about the subject, obviously, especially since I've been researching a lot about art, not just like literature, but like a lot about art and artists. So I really want to read this one. This was actually a photo of Pablo Picasso, and he's very problematic. I actually read a book last summer called Life with Picasso by François Gillot, and that's what kind of prompted me to pick up something like this, because he was absolutely terrible to her and every one of the women that he was with, and he was not like a really good person. He was really bad-tempered, and he would sabotage her like painting career and like her self-esteem and whatnot. So yeah, I can't wait to read this, and I hope it actually does discuss Picasso here and there. It'd be really interesting to read. So I am so excited that I finally have a hardcover of this book. Then I got this book that I've also been dying to read. It's called Mostrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. My apologies if I butchered that. This is translated fiction, I believe. Let me check to see. Is it? No. Okay, it's not even translated. I'm sorry, my bad. But it is set in Mexico City, and what I've heard, without giving too much away, is that it is very much like a Frankenstein retelling, and I am reading any book that is a Frankenstein retelling, and I'm about to make like a little project reading those type of books. So, and there's a person that I follow on TikTok and on Instagram, and I love her taste, and she's also Persian, so I talked to her quite a few times, and every time she shares something she loves, I typically have the same taste as her, and she said that she absolutely loved this, and I'm gonna love this one. So let's read the back. It says here, after her son dies, Magos carves out a small piece of his lung to save for herself. Acting on fierce maternal instinct and the dubious logic of an old folktale, she nurtures the lung until it gains sentience. Growing into the carnivorous little monstrilio, she keeps hidden within the walls of her decaying childhood home in Mexico City. But despite her best efforts to turn the monster she created into a man, Monstrilio's innate impulses threaten to destroy his fragile second chance at life. A meditation on grief, acceptance, and the monstrous sides of love and loyalty. Gerardo Samano Cordova's ambitious debut spans the globe from Brooklyn to Berlin, offering a cathartic and precise portrait of being human. I love this. This is exactly why I love anything that is similar to Frankenstein retelling, because it always circles back to the same themes of, love, loss, acceptance, and monstrosity in some ways to depict that loss and decay. And I'm just so fucking excited to read this. I'm not kidding. Like, I just want to read this for this reading vlog. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Then I got this book that I've been wanting to get for a very long time, because it's been doing rounds, not only the last year, but in the last 2-3 years since I joined Book Talk. And it's I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, and this is a dystopic book. Deep underground, 39 women live in prison in a cage, watched over by guards. These women have no memory of how they got there, no notion of time, and only vague recollections of their lives before. As the burn of electric light merges day into night and numberless years pass, a young girl, the 40th prisoner, sits alone and outcast in the corner. But soon she will show herself to be the key to the others' escape and survival in the strange world that awaits them above. It's really short, and like I said, I've only heard great things. And also, this is translated from French, and I wanted to buy a French copy because you guys know, if it's in French and originally in French, I like to read it in French. But unfortunately, I could not find a French edition that was affordable and available. So it's okay, I will settle for this beautiful English edition. I love this cover. I was gonna buy this on Chapters, but I hated the cover that they have there, so I bought it on Amazon instead. I know. And then I got Killers of the Flower Moon. Can you tell I'm sick? I'm losing my voice as I'm going around. The Osage Murders and the Birth of the FBI by David Gran. Obviously, I definitely want to read this. I don't have to say much about this because I'm sure you've heard this or you've seen the trailer for the movie that they made 2 years ago with, what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio and other great actors. So I definitely want to read this and watch the movie. I've been meaning to read this for a decade, so I think it's now or never to read this one. And this was on a severe discount, so I snatched it up, and I love this cover. Typically I don't really enjoy the movie covers, so I'm glad that I finally found a copy of the original cover. Then I have another old book, but a classic book. It's The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. This one, okay, I picked it up because right now it's really famous because Emmy from Emmy Reads, who's also an Ontarian booktuber, but obviously she's famous and everyone knows her. She's reading this for her book club, I believe. And as soon as I heard what this book was about, it interested me right away because, as you guys know, I love John Green, and his new book on tuberculosis is coming out this month. So I figured that I wanted to read other books that have to do with tuberculosis because it's something that I am maybe incorporating in one of my novels. So I'd love to read more. And this one is translated. It's translated from the German by John E. Woods. So yeah, I guess it depends which edition of The Magic Mountain you will get. You will get a different translation. This is the description. In The Magic Mountain, man uses a sanatorium in the Swiss Alps, a community devoted exclusively to sickness, as a microcosm for Europe, which in the years before 1914 was already exhibiting the first symptoms of its own terminal irrationality. To this hermetic yet intrigue-ridden world comes Hans Karstorp, a perfectly ordinary young man who arrives for a short visit and ends up staying 7 years. For on the Magic Mountain, Hans will succumb both to the lure of Eros and to the intoxication of ideas. This just sounds so good. This is really daunting though. 700 pages almost, and very small writing. So this is gonna be a long project. Some of you may or may not know I am wanting to write a pandemic type novel. So I collect pandemic literature, and although tuberculosis is a bit different, it's still in that vein of viral infections and whatnot. And this one as well, this one is the latest by Olga Tokarczuk. It's called The Impusium, and it says here a health resort horror story, and it's really similar in some ways to The Magic Mountain when I heard the description. And I'm really curious to see, if I do some research online, if it has any connection, because this one won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1929, and it's set in I guess the early 20th century. So this one is set in September 1913. A young Pole suffering from tuberculosis arrives at Wilhelm Alpit's guest house for gentlemen in the village of Gaubersdorf, a health resort in the Silesian mountains. Every evening, the residents gather to imbibe the hallucinogenic local liqueur and debate the great issues of the day. Monarchy or democracy? Do devils exist? Are women born inferior? War or peace? Meanwhile, disturbing things are happening in the guest house and the surrounding hills. Someone or something seems to be watching, attempting to infiltrate this cloistered world. Little does the newcomer realize, as he tries to unravel both the truth within himself and the mystery of the sinister forces beyond, that they have already chosen their next target. Oh, a century after the publication of The Magic Mountain, Olga Tokarczuk revisits Thomas Mann territory and lays claim to it with signature inventiveness, humor, and bravura. Mind you, that I just encountered these two books separately without knowing the connection. But then reading the back of both books, I'm like, excuse me, is this like a retelling? And I was right, this is a retelling. So I will definitely be reading The Magic Mountain, and right after I'll be reading The Impusium. And I'm so excited to like read through both books and compare and see like what she took from the original text and whatnot. And yeah, it just sounds like a fun time. I mean, not really, because it is tuberculosis. And I will also read the new John Green book on tuberculosis, named Everything is Tuberculosis. So if you want to see a video of that, let me know. I'll film that entire video. It's gonna take me time, but I'm sick right now, so it feels a bit timely, especially like when you enter spring season. Everyone is sick with a cold. Everyone is like, sequestered and wants to go outside, but whatever. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I think the cold is getting to my head. But yeah, I'm so excited for these two books and all the other books, honestly. And this is such an exciting haul, honestly. I'm just so excited to read these. And I can't believe that I picked them up in the same haul, so that's great. I love when connections like that happen. And I am daunted though by The Magic Mountain, but I will persevere because I'm way too curious. And yeah, I feel like everyone's reading this book right now, so I want to know what's going on. So guys, you know how I was just reading Carmilla? I totally forgot that I have a Carmilla retelling by one of my favorite authors, Gibson, and the book is called An Education in Malice, and I just started reading it and I am loving it. Sorry, I'm putting these like hand warmers on because it's so cold and I'm just really cold right now. So yeah, I started reading An Education in Malice and it's just so good. I'm about like two, three chapters in, and I'm like kind of shocked at like how similar it is to my vampire retelling. Mine is not based on Carmilla or any kind of really specific vampire retelling, but the premise is a little bit the same in some ways. So it is actually inspiring me and also like making me feel better that like my story is gonna be interesting, if that makes sense. So technically we're fully back in vampire mode because I'm also going to start reading this one, which is a vampire text. It's Open Graves, Open Minds, Representations of Vampires and the Undead from the Enlightenment to the Present Day by Sam George and Bill Hughes. Don't worry, I'm going to link this down below. So at the beginning of the year when I was doing research on vampire nonfiction books, this was one of them that popped up, and obviously I have other ones that I want to read, so I'm going to start with this one. And then I was just thinking about it last night. I had started reading the Discovery of Witches series, and although it's about a witch, it's also about a vampire. So I'm actually also reading another vampire book, but this is the second book in the trilogy. But actually there are 5 books out now, but I only have the main trilogy and then the rest she wrote later on. I'm really enjoying this. I had read a third of it at the beginning of the year or the end of the year, and then I stopped. So I'm about 200 pages in and there's about 600 pages, so that's a long road to go, but I'm reading it through audiobook and I'm trying to read like an hour a day because my loan is expiring in less than a week. So I really do want to finish this so I can continue on with the third book. But yeah, this is also vampire, but I'm not going to talk about this because it's the second book in a series. But yeah, I'm going to continue reading An Education Malice, and I'm going to read some of the essays in Open Graves, Open Minds. And then hopefully today I'm going to get some writing done. I have been rereading what I have written. I have like I said at the beginning of the year, I have like 10,000 words in. So, you know, I was feeling so discouraged. Like in February I didn't really get any writing done, and then I got really sick, as you can tell. But now I'm feeling like, okay, this is exciting again, we can do this. Like that little break, that month break of thinking about vampires and thinking about the book actually like did me some good, and I think that's just because I'm back into it, you know. Had I waited any longer, I might have felt out of love, or I would have felt guilty because I had wanted to write this book in the last year or so. But yeah, I think I'm going to get back into a good rhythm. I'm not too stressed about it anymore. All I need to do is to work on it every day. It doesn't have to be 5,000, 2,000, 3,000 words. It can just be 500 words, or it can just be fixing up a chapter. As long as I keep going and stop discouraging myself, I will get there. I just have to stop being so harsh on myself. I think as writers, we tend to be super harsh and we want everything to be perfect on the first draft, which is just not possible. I don't know how many times I have to learn this lesson, but yeah, I just want to finish a first draft at this point with this book. And with editing calendar, I'm just going to take my time with it. I told myself I'm not going to stress. If I have an extra pocket of time, I go back, edit a few chapters. Now that I reread the whole thing and I wrote down summaries and list of questions and list of things to fix, I feel less daunted. I feel like it's less of an insurmountable task now. I just need to trust myself that I will get it done this year. It doesn't matter if it takes me the entire year, as long as I get it done this year. And yeah, so yeah, that's just me right now, how I'm feeling. I'm also dealing with this cold, and it's almost gone but not quite yet. I can hear it when I'm speaking, and I can feel it like a little bit with my sinuses, but I feel so much better. And yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to keep working. I finished writing some reviews today, and like that's the other thing, I really need to stay on the ball with the reviews. And I always think that it's gonna take me like an hour, but it ends up taking me like quite a few hours because I try to like put in citation, I try to put the quotes that I underline into my commonplace book, so it all takes time. And it's fine because I put them officially on my blog, so I feel like I'm doing something, because obviously my blog is monetized and whatnot, so people can read it and people can like refer to my reviews if they want. But yeah, just a lot of things that I'm doing on screen, off screen. And now it's time to do some vampire reading. So like I said, this is a Carmilla retelling. So we do follow Carmilla and we follow Laura, which both girls feature in the Carmilla original text. And we also have like other characters that use names from the original text, and it's just super interesting so far. So Carmilla and Laura are in the same writing poetry class, and there's like a kind of like competition between them, and there's like a lot of sapphic kind of undertones too. But Laura is the new freshman at the school and Carmilla is like a senior, so Laura actually had to prove herself to get into that senior class with this professor called De La Fontaine, and she's like kind of like that professor in The Secret History. And you know, like it's just like a trend with these novels where they have that one professor that's not really a good professor and that's inspiring students to be competitive. It's similar to like the one in Bunny as well. So yeah, it's very dark academia-ish so far, and I can't wait to see things unravel. And obviously I won't spoil anything, but yeah, I'm just wondering who really is the vampire in this tale and how it's going to come about. I read A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson 2 years ago, and I really love that book. However, I feel like her writing style has regressed from that book, if that makes sense. Like, it just doesn't read like her other writing style. But maybe it's because it's like signs of the time, or maybe it's because she's dealing with college students versus like old vampires. This is actually set in the late 1960s, and I like that aspect of it because I love the 60s. So like a lot of the stuff that the students talk about are very relevant to that time, like the new record by Jimi Hendrix, for example, and things like that. I really found that interesting because right now in my novel, I'm not sure what time period I want to set it. I want to set it somewhere between 1950s and 1980s, but I have not decided yet exactly what time period. So every time I'm mentioning like a radio or a kind of phone, I'm making sure that I'm narrowing down the scope of when my book is set. I don't want it to be modern at all. I know it's a cop-out, but I think a lot of writers hate writing about modernity, especially. I do believe a lot of writers that love to write about the gothic and vampires don't like to set it in modern setting. Like even Twilight was set in the early 2000s, so you know, at that point we weren't that advanced. You know, she was still using her like desktop computer to research vampires, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just feeling very nostalgic. This is what I love about vampires. Vampires are what got me into literature, so I just feel like in some way this is like really a passion project for me. And although it's not like strictly vampire focused, it still has all the thematics, you know, like you have the sleepwalking, you have the disease, you have the what the hell is going on, the memory loss, the blood, all the good stuff. And also obviously because I'm writing about a writer that is taking a vampire literature class. I have a lot of that writing element too, that dark academia element too. And yeah, I don't want it to be too formulaic. I want it to still remain unique. Obviously, I'm not telling you everything that's in my novel because there is an aspect to it that's very special and unique to it, but I don't want to reveal it because I do fear that someone might take it, and I haven't seen it out anywhere. So that's why I've been reading a lot of novels that are similar to mine to make sure that like it hasn't really been done before. And I think this is the closest one that I can think of. So yeah.